I think everyone's going to tell you their opinion of what they think is the best gun in the world. I think they're going to tell you that it may be Colts or it's going to be Springfield. It may not be based off of the brand name, or it could be, what type, what platform, AR-15 versus AK-47. This transcends all manners of subjects. Me, I kind of like all of them. I like some cheaper guns. That's kind of something I like is finding an old cheap gun that somebody thinks is not a great gun, and building on that, or buying it and seeing how long its longevity will last. By no means am I a fan of the high point pistols, but I will tell you that I own a high point carbine, and it is a good gun. I enjoy it. But what I want to talk about today is a gun that I really feel like a lot of people overlook that I think is just a phenomenal gun, and in my opinion could probably be one of the best firearms that you get for the money you pay. It probably will not win a beauty contest, but it will survive. It has a lot of durability, and I do know from personal experience that the ones that I've got from this manufacturer and this type, they haven't let me down, not one time. They've ridden in the window of a gun, of a pickup truck, back when you could do that. They've rode on a tractor. They've been, just left out in the cold or left out in the warm or anything of that nature, but they have always lasted. They've always worked. They've always fired. They've always, when called upon, performed. What I'm talking about today is the New England Firearms shotgun. A lot of people look at these and they know somebody, grandpa's had one, or they've had one, or they've had a few. They have been around for a long time. I haven't researched and seen when they started making them, but I do know that this particular gun right here that I hold in my hand, I had since the late 80s. And I bought it from the Walmart here in town. I didn't. My father bought it for me. Now, it was shortly thereafter that I got the 410. But I've had this gun, I've had it for a long time. And I do know that this gun stayed, while I was in the military for about 10 years, this gun stayed in the closet and was never used. When I did go back home and cleaned out the closet, because my mom told me to, and moved on, it's like rediscovering the gun again. I was pretty excited about that. So I took the gun home, kind of steel wooled some rust off of the barrel, just a little bit of surface rust, and oiled it up, and I have been using it ever since. Sometimes I take this thing out just to shoot it, go, okay, she still works. I live in town now, I don't live in the country, but when I did, and we had coyotes, I think this and the old British 303 took some shots at the coyotes every now and then again. But the gun is just well built. It's a phenomenal gun. Anybody that's taken these apart does know that it's a little tedious getting this hammer assembly back into it. But I'll tell you folks, when I did take this apart to clean it, there was gunk and gunk and gunk down there for days. It took dental picks and screwdrivers to get it all out. But when I finally did get it all out and cleaned up and put back together, it was like brand new. But the gun didn't fail. It still worked. The wood on the gun is still in good condition. I just think it's an awesome design. And in fact, this gun's still being made, and they make it in handy rifles now. There's one in 308 that I've seen at the local pawn shop I would like to have. They also make a version of this gun that looks phenomenal called the Buffalo Hunter Classic. It's a 45-70, and it's got a straight stock on it to mimic, the old Buffalo guns. It does break in half, and you load it that way, but it does have the attachments if you want to put a veneer type sight or some type of aftermarket peep sight on it. It has a very long barrel with a hooded front sight, and it just, if you look at it, it looks like, at a real quick glance, it kind of mimics an old Sharps Buffalo gun. But I just wanted to, I've never seen a whole lot of reviews for this gun or people talking about these guns, but I just think these guns are great guns. In my opinion, if you was to go over what would be the best platform, this is it. It's simple to operate. You load the shell in there. You know, you pretty well know if you've got this gun loaded or not, and you shut it, and then you pull the hammer back and you pull the trigger. Whenever you go to unload it, it ejects the shell out on its own. Now I have heard some people say that you had to pull it out or hammer it a few times to get the shell to come out, but I've not had that problem. And like I said, I've only heard of people doing that. I've never seen one of these shotguns. These are very similar to the H&Rs. In fact, I believe they're the same company. I don't know. But there's a lot of companies that made the old break-in-half shotguns. These guns, your grandpa's probably got one of these guns, or had. If there's anybody that you have who shoots a lot, they probably have had their hands on one of these guns. I bet 10, 20% of us, maybe even more, this was our first gun. As in the case with me, this was my first gun. Anyway, I just want to talk about my little New England firearm. It's been a great gun. I like it. You know, I've got AR-15s and Henrys and all that kind of neat stuff in there and all that. And then sometimes I look in the corner and see this poor little lonely thing, and I have to pull it back out and say, hey, I still appreciate you. You're a good gun. You work. I've had to replace parts on my AR. I've got an AK-47. I've had to replace parts on it. Both those weapon systems have jammed. Both of them have had failure to eject, failure to feed. This one hasn't had a failure to eject or feed yet. You know, and it's worked. It's never gone click. That's probably because I ain't had no bad ammo on it, but it's just a great, great gun. It's a solid, reliable gun. It's kind of like old Mack trucks. They're nothing pretty to look at, but you notice there's a lot of old Mack trucks running around where them newer trucks are falling apart. Anyway, thanks for listening.